Hi, I'm John,
And I'm Angel.
and we're from onlinefilipinadating.com. Hey, a long distance relationship really can have lots of problems.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it does. One of the things that I want to talk about is the problems that you can that happen during a long distance relationship, and how to survive those problems so you can find your partner of your dreams. And one of those first ones is loneliness. Now, how do you overcome loneliness when you're 12,000 miles apart?
For me, if I feel lonely, I just think the nice thing happened to us, like the good memory.
Yeah. Well, that's true, but sometimes if you're lonely, you don't feel cared for. You don't have that spark inside you that makes you want to call and do things. You kind of get depressed, right?
Yeah, usually if you feel lonely, that's because you are thinking negative. Like, how about if he will not video call to me tomorrow? What happen if he don't like me anymore? So those are examples of being feeling lonely.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And when you have the long distance of how far it is, oftentimes you have that time difference. You have like the 3 or 4 hour time difference if you live on the West Coast, or in our cases, we had a 15-hour time difference from all the way across the world, and that's hard. And how do we overcome that? I think one of the ways that I liked when you were communicating with me is you'd call me or text me actually first thing in the morning when I told you my alarm clock. You were my alarm clock, weren't you?
Yeah, because if it's his daytime, it's my nighttime.
So at 5 o'clock in the morning when I'm waking up, she's already off of work or getting close to off of work. So we played that kind of tag back and forth. And it's like a good morning kiss, right?
Yeah.
You're communicating with your partner across the world. You're able to say, hey, good morning, or hey, good night. And that's what we would do all the time, because when I got home, or when I was leaving for work, I should say, you were going to bed.
That's
or
right.
really close to it.
Yeah.
So, sending those early morning texts, or let's also talk about pictures when, say, you're waking up and you have that morning face on, your eyes are still kind of sleepy. You take one of those pictures and you send it to him and say, thank you for waking me up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the most glamorous.
Yeah, but it helps me waking up. It's like if you wake me up, it's like, oh, it's him. I need to wake up.
Yeah, and same thing when you go to bed. You have like little nighttime pictures and nighttime texts that help you stay connected. Because if you're not connected, if you're not communicating, those are the problems that are going to come up in your long distance relationship.
Yeah.
When we're still communicating across the world, sometimes we actually forget to text or forget to send a message or something. And when that happens, I think you're starting not a problem, but you're starting to disconnect a little bit. Because
Yeah.
if you're sending messages in the morning and in the afternoon, you feel connected, just kind of like you're here at home. And you want to kind of emulate that virtual relationship with you being at home and somebody overseas or in a different time zone. You still want to have those morning and evening connections to make it as virtually real as possible
That's right.
on there. So one of the ways to keep it virtually real is to go on dates. Do you remember those? The
Yeah.
dates? I know it sounds funny, but you have to do things to keep your interest and to keep things going. Do you want to share one of the stories about how we would set up a candlelight dinner or something on a special occasion?
Yeah, we talk about that this day, this time. We
We'll
will.
say for our anniversary.
Yeah.
for our little meeting anniversary date?
Yeah. I surprise him before I call him that day. I prepare cake and with a candle, and then when I call him, it's like when the video start, I say like surprise, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
With holding the cake.
And I would, on the other end of that, I'd have, a special meal also prepared. So she'd prepare dessert, I'd prepare the main course, and then we'd go ahead and eat it with our phones sitting up right in front of us. I'd take a bite, she'd take a bite, she'd tell me how yummy dessert is, I'd tell her how yummy dinner was. But I know it sounds silly, but you gotta do something. You have to do something to maintain the spark, maintain the hope, and maintain just that contact. Even if it's virtual, there is still contact in there, and you can do it. So if you don't have this type of contact, this positive contact, then time gets in the way, and time to thinking in your head, and that's where problems start to stem from. Such as, I think the most poisonous, I don't want to say attitude, but the most poisonous feeling that you could have is jealousy.
That's right.
Jealousy will ruin and poison your relationship if you let it get out of control. And if you're always, there in the morning, if you're there in the evening, you don't have time to be jealous. So you have to be careful, because jealous is a very harsh emotion, and it's something that can, ruin your relationship. So by doing the little online datings and doing the dinners and doing your virtual dates, that's going to help stop that. Another one of those things is, now she doesn't do this, but keeping secrets.
Never keep secrets.
Well, if you have a secret, or you think she has a secret, that's where it also comes in, where you're going to have problems. So having an open rule, I guess, not a rule, but a open communication to where you don't keep secrets, because if they are truly the number one person in your life, which they should be at this time, then keeping secrets, there's no need for it. Secrets, people get to think about that again, and then it comes into secrets and jealousy and anger, and those are all poison for a good relationship on that one. So, but say for example that you're doing something. I'm not going to say that you're cheating, but say that you went and had lunch with a woman at work. Now, maybe you're in a job position where there's only women, and it's just normal to go out and have lunch with women or the opposite sex. And if that's your norm, then communicate about it and share your stories. Yeah. But let's say it's not your norm. Say that you don't normally go out to lunch, but all of a sudden you found yourself at lunch, with a woman, and your partner is 12,000 miles away. Do they need to know that? Or is that going to be a secret? Those are conversations that you need to keep open. And it's our opinion that if that does happen, you should share it like an everyday event.
Yeah.
I woke up, I brushed my teeth this morning. I went to lunch, and I had lunch with Mary. And she might say, well, who is Mary? And she has every right to do that. Same as you have every right to ask her. So who's Fernando? You went to lunch with him. Because if you're not open in those types of situations, again, you're going to keep a secret. And if you keep a secret, then you're going to keep another secret, and that turns into a lie. Yeah. And then you have jealousy involved, and then it all collapses. And it possibly could come to a point where there's no hope to reconcile the relationship, and then you get to start all over again. And that's truly what you don't want to have happen. So if you have these rules about, say, you're not allowed to go to lunch with women, and they're not allowed to go to lunch with men, what happens if they do that? What happens if you violated their trust by breaking an agreed upon rule, for lack of a better word? Well, there should be a little consequence in there. Now, what's a good consequence? Okay, don't say anything. What's a good consequence? I don't know. Maybe that you have to virtually clean the house or virtually do the dishes. Make it kind of fun, but at the same time serious. Because, consequences, if you break a rule, there should be a consequence. Maybe it's just a discussion. Maybe it's time that you have to spend, which I think is a good plan. Maybe it's something where you have to, come up with a surprise. Make it fun, but yet at the same time, kind of make it serious. Now, if it is something where, they're secretly texting another woman or behind your back or doing something like that, then rule or no rule, you need to have those discussions. Why are you texting these people? What's the reason for it? And make sure that it's open and that both of you agree to it. So consequences and rules, I think, are very appropriate. So let's talk about one of the other ones. Well, I'm not going to say have we, I don't want to put her on the spot. Arguing, it takes two people to argue no matter what. And that's another problem in long distance relationships is people will start communicating and then you say, okay, I'm not talking to you anymore, click, and they hang up the phone. Now how does that make you feel? I don't like the phone hung up on me.
I don't like it either. It makes me sad.
And if you're going to do that, number one, you're playing mind games. And if they're doing it to you, they're playing games. They're not being the mature person that you want to have in a relationship that's going to possibly go towards marriage. So you need to talk about it. You need to resolve that issue to where you're not, stressed. It's not something that you're worrying about anymore.
Yeah, resolve it as soon as you can.
Arguing, I will say it, arguing is for immature people in a relationship. There's no place for it. It takes two people. So if you find yourself arguing, you are also the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of summarizing here, arguing turns into the silent treatment, and then it turns into jealousy, and then it turns into a whole bunch of other things that can, really cause the relationship to crash. Now, let's talk about these rules again. How harsh should these little rules be? There needs to be some flexibility.
Yeah.
So if you do go to lunch with somebody that you're not supposed to, and it is business related, sometimes you don't have a chance. You don't have a choice. You have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And by maintaining that honest and open relationship with each other, I'm going to say, dear, I did not have a choice. I could not call you because you were sleeping. I had to go and I did.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth. You have to have some flexibility in there.
Yeah, you have to understand that he needs to go to work, and that's at least he tells you that this is the plan for today, or this is what's going to happen. Yeah.
So that's kind of it. I mean, this is a longer video than normal, but I just want to summarize, a few of the main points that I have on here. 5 steps to help long distance relationship problems. Keep a balance. If it's good for you, it's good for him. If it's good for me, it's good for her. Balance on both sides. Mm-hmm. Not too much texting, but just enough. You need to make sure you have balance, even in your communication tools. Don't respond in a negative way, because that turns into fights, that turns into arguments. So if you're going to bash somebody and just yell at them all the time, I probably would hang up, because that's not part of my life. That's not the way I respond. And if somebody does it to me, I'm looking at something else. Don't get jealous over issues in your relationship, because you're gonna have the ability to communicate with each other, so jealousy doesn't become a problem anymore. Build trust and faith. Trust and faith doesn't happen overnight. It takes weeks and months to build them up. It takes talking and communicating and asking the what if questions. I remember a time when she'd say, well, what would happen if a sexy woman just presented themselves to you when you were at work? What would you do? And those are legitimate questions, because if either partner has a question, it's a legitimate question. There are no wrong questions. So I would explain what I would do, which is, of course, talk, depending on what I have to do, talk with them professionally, keep it on topic, not share personal information, and then come home and talk to her about it. You need to have that open communication. And lastly is build the trust side by side. You build trust by doing the virtual videos. You build the trust by sharing your thoughts and what you would do. It's like, not truth or dare. It's like, what is that other one? What would you rather? Yeah, what would you rather? Would you rather do this or would you rather do that? And explain. That's how you get to know these people. And you can use this on-time relationship that you have or I should say this long distance relationship that you have, to truly build a solid foundation in your relationship.
Yeah.
Because I know we did.
Yeah.
You know, not on the relationship problems, but in just in the beginning, we communicated all the time, hundreds of messages, hundreds of questions, until it's like, wow, now it's time to go take a visit. Thank you for joining us on this one. Please like and share our videos, and of course, leave
a message, and please don't forget to subscribe our channel so you guys will be updated for every videos that we're going to upload.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day, you guys.